Hi guys, Forgotten Wolf here, and this is a video on Robert's Rebellion. First off, on a personal note, I would love to thank you guys for 5,000 views. I never thought we'd get this big, and I never thought this channel would go this far. It's just incredible. It's incredible. I would like to thank you guys so much. I couldn't do it without you guys, and this is very special. And this video is for you guys. But if you want to see more videos like this at 100 subscribers, I'll be doing a 1-hour video on the FNAF Timeline. At 100 likes, I'll be doing a video on the Super Mario Timeline. So please like, share, and subscribe. And now let's begin. Robert's Rebellion was many things, but it was a rebellion that changed Westeros and set the downfall of House Targaryen. It took place between 282 and 283 AC. Not that this is real, it wasn't. We begin the story at the tourney of Harrenhal, a tourney that is speculated to be organized by Rhaegar Targaryen, although it's never been confirmed. It was an effort to overthrow his father, the Mad King, King Aerys. He attended the tourney along with other houses like Stark, Martell, Baratheon. The tourney began with Jaime Lannister, son of Tywin, being presented as a knight of the King's Guard, and the tourney continued as expected until the very end, where Rhaegar Targaryen won the tourney, and in Westeros, the winner of a tourney gets crowned Queen of Love and Beauty. Now, Rhaegar was already married to Princess Elia Martell of Dorne. However, he made a very controversial and scandalous act next by crowning Lyanna Stark, daughter of the Lord of Winterfell, Rickard Stark, Queen of Love and Beauty. And to make matters worse for the Targaryens, Lord Robert Baratheon of Storm's End had been long betrothed to Lyanna Stark, and was great friends with Ned Stark, as they were both being fostered in the middle by Lord Jon Arryn. So he's managed to make enemies and piss off 3 of the kingdoms. Congratulations, you screwed up. After a while, Rhaegar's actions could have been forgiven, but what happened next would make the present relationship between the Targaryens and the rest of Westeros permanent resentment. After the tourney, it is said that Rhaegar... Oh, I just kicked something over. Rhaegar kidnapped Lyanna Stark and, well, raped her. Yeah. Now, in reality, the two ran away together as they were interested in having a son, which is the prince that was promised a prophecy. The prince that was promised is born of ice and fire and would reunite Westeros. But you know who got angry by Rhaegar kidnapping Lyanna? Brandon Stark, the heir to Winterfell, her sister Lyanna. Brandon was traveling, and Lyanna were traveling together, so Brandon could wed Catelyn Tully, who was 17, the eldest daughter of the Lord of Riverrun, Hoster Tully. In addition to Brandon, Robert Baratheon was also surely mad at Rhaegar, but while Brandon left Riverrun to deal justice to Rhaegar, I would say Robert stayed because, well, Jon Arryn's a cool head. Well, Rickard Stark arrived in King's Landing later. Why, you may ask? Because Brandon Stark, he shouted on the streets for Rhaegar to come and die. Obviously, you can't say that for the Crown Prince, and he ended up getting himself arrested. So Rickard was summoned, and Rickard had his armor on. He was prepared to do a trial by combat, and Aerys obliged his request. Rebellion avoided. No, I'm kidding. The problem is his champion was fire, and both the Lord of Winterfell and the heir to Winterfell were killed, as long as all Northmen that accompanied them there. And then next, Aerys, like the idiot he was, sent word to Jon Arryn to hand over the heads of his wards, Lord Robert Baratheon and Lord Eddard Stark. Jon wasn't about to betray their fathers and decided to call his banners and go to war. Now that he was going to war, Jon sent Robert and Ned home to declare their banners and join him against the crown. Robert was able to get home pretty easy and declare his banners in support of Jon Arryn. However, Ned Stark had a tricky journey there for several reasons. First, he wasn't expected to be the Lord of Winterfell, and second, there were still those inside the Vale region that were loyal to the crown. One of the first battles was the Battle of Gulltown, as it controlled a port that the rebels needed. The rebels took it easy, allowing for Ned and Robert to go home. Ned was able to go home via a fisherman's daughter, which would spark rumors, more on that later. But when Ned got to Winterfell, he reunited with his younger brother Benjen and called his banners, meaning that there were 3 major armies compared to the crown, who had the Reeds, Dragonstone, and Dorne. The goal of the rebels was unknown at this time, however, until they decided the goal of the King of the Targaryens in making Robert Baratheon. Robert was chosen as king partly because his grandmother was a Targaryen, so he was partly in the line of the royal family. This meant that Robert was king. It meant that Aerys wasn't just fighting for his and his heirs' life. He was fighting for his family's life now. And, yeah. Where were we? Oh. Robert Baratheon next, you know what he did? He went to battle himself, and he fought the battle at Summerhall, and he successfully won the battle. The Northmen and wait a minute. Sorry, he didn't win the battle. He did. The North and the Vale had joined together, but Robert was still in South with his enemies. The new hand of the king, John Connington, decided in order to give the crown the best chance, it was best to meet the rebels before all three could unite into one army, which would be impossible to stop. However, another thing that really hurt the Targaryens was there was possibility of further houses joining the rebels. Two major houses hadn't declared for anyone at this point: the Tullys, who controlled the Riverlands, and the Lannisters, who controlled the Westerlands. Ned and Jon were on the move, but they weren't getting south to Robert yet because they were negotiating with Hoster Tully, the Lord of Riverrun, like I said, on a marriage pact, which is the best way of sealing an alliance in Westeros. So, while that was happening, the new hand of the king, John Connington, moved through the Reach to fight Robert. Robert, having already been tired from the Battle of Summerhall, was soundly defeated at the Battle of Ashford, meaning Robert was on the run, and while the Reach army began, instead of going after Robert and potentially capturing him, they decided to go lay siege to Robert's home, Storm's End, which is, if you lose your family seat, that's a sign of weakness. And another thing for the bad rebels that was bad, Robert Baratheon was injured in the battle and was forced to chill in a small town called Stony Sept, a town that you wouldn't think to let a king in, but guess who predicted Robert would go there? John Connington. Bro got called out. John Connington took the town easy, but the residents of the towns were real Sigmas, I can't believe I just said that, and hid Robert from Connington. The search for Robert went on and on and on until finally the North Vale and Tullys went following Connington's army. The rebels found the town, charged in, creating the Battle of the Bells, which there was battling on the streets. It was bloody. Robert Baratheon was in a whorehouse when he emerged and joined the battle. And Connington was soundly defeated and returned to King's Landing, where he was stripped of all titles and exiled by the Mad King Aerys, who still didn't believe the rebels were a serious threat. Before I continue with the battle, something I just said, that Robert Baratheon was rescued from the Tullys, the Starks, and the Vale. You might have said, but Forgotten Wolf, the Tullys weren't in the war yet. That's where you'd be wrong. Background in the Riverlands. Prior to Robert's rebellion, Lord Rickard Stark, like I mentioned, had betrothed Brandon Stark to Catelyn Tully. This meant that he spent a lot of time with Catelyn. However, Catelyn Tully and the Tully's ward, Peter Baelish, had also liked Catelyn, and so he challenged Brandon to a duel, which Brandon won. And afterwards, while he was healing, it is said that Lysa Arryn came and slept with and did a few naughty things with Littlefinger, and this affair was resulting in a pregnancy, which was terminated. And Baelish was sent back to his home. Brandon never did marry Catelyn, however, because he was executed. Hoster Tully needed to find new matches for daughters, while the rebels, particularly Ned Stark, needed to find a wife. And there was a brilliant opportunity, as the previous Stark-Tully alliance was allowed to continue, as Hoster Tully was more than willing to allow Ned Stark to marry Catelyn Tully in place of Brandon. In addition, Jon Arryn by this point had both of his heirs killed in the war, so he needed a wife to produce him more children and heirs, and Lysa Arryn have already proved that she could become pregnant, was a perfect match. And Hoster Tullian accepted. In addition, the rebels wanted him to join the war, which he did. And after the Battle of the Bells, the weddings were held with Ned and Catelyn being married, and Lysa and Jon likewise, which meant Lysa was now Lysa Arryn, and Catelyn was now Catelyn Stark. As they were at war, Catelyn and Lysa were going to stay till Riverrun at the end. It's estimated that Ned and Catelyn only spent 2 weeks together during this time. But during this time, Catelyn became pregnant with the couple's first child, a boy, whom Ned and Catelyn would name Robb Stark after Robert Baratheon. Back in King's Landing, the Mad King had gotten the Queen Rhaella pregnant with her third child, and he ordered the King's Guard to find Rhaegar and return him to King's Landing to lead a force to fight the rebels. However, when they found Rhaegar, he was in Dorne. They also found Lyanna Stark, who by my estimates was also pregnant around this time. So the rebels finally left Riverrun, however, after the marriages, with the might of 4 huge kingdoms and the crown, and a huge army now, commanded by Rhaegar Targaryen. The two sides were set for a bloody battle, which would be at the Trident. It was a battle where 2 men fighting for one throne, 2 men fighting for 1 woman. The battle began, and no major progress was had for a while, despite some challenges, but eventually King Robert Baratheon met Prince Rhaegar Targaryen in a single combat. As the 2 men fought, it would determine who would win the war and the battle. But at the end of the day, Robert won, shattering Rhaegar's bones, and the Crown's army broke and scattered, leaving the rebels with a straight shot to King's Landing. After the Battle of the Trident, it was pretty clear the rebels are going to win, because the Targaryens are fucking trash. I mean, what? So they got even further enforcements, the rebels. Tywin Lannister, Lord of Castle Rock, entered the war and charged to King's Landing. In addition, the Greyjoys started to attack the Reach, which were friends of the Targaryens, and the Freys joined the rebel army. And Robert was injured again during this war. Damn, bro can't stay healthy. So Robert Baratheon sent Ned Stark, good old Ned Stark, to take King's Landing. However, what he found would be truly horrific. But getting back to the Mad King, he wanted to burn the city, so he sent his pregnant wife and his only remaining son, Prince Viserys Targaryen, but kept Rhaegar's children for some reason. Yeah, I don't understand that either. But he, with only the Mad King in King's Landing, Grand Maester Pycelle opened the gates to Tywin Lannister, who tricked the Mad King into thinking he had come to their aid, and that meant that the city was getting sacked. Women were killed, men were killed, babies were killed. It was brutal. Everything was stolen. It was awful. Oh, truly, truly awful. And after seeing this sacking, the Mad King ordered the pyromancer, whoever creates fires, to burn the city. And so Jaime Lannister saw this and wasn't about to let everyone die, including himself. He killed the fire person, then went up to Aerys Targaryen, killed, and blood spilled everywhere. Yeah. Meanwhile, Gregor Clegane and army lords tracked down Rhaegar's wife Elia and raped her. Please don't cancel me, YouTube. While brutally murdering their children. Ned Stark, who at this point made his way to the Red Keep, saw in the throne room the Mad King was dead, and Jaime Lannister was sitting on the throne and shouted at him something that would haunt him forever. Kingslayer! And the war was pretty much over after that. Robert was crowned king. After arguments with what to do with Clegane and Lorch, King Robert sent Ned Stark to lift the siege of Storm's End while also retrieving Lyanna Stark at the process. Storm's End was taken, even though it was controlled at the time by Stannis Baratheon. The Tyrells, in an effort to get on Robert's good sides, lifted their siege and were more unhappy, but they also assisted the Baratheons and the Crown Navy to get Viserys Targaryen, and by this point, Daenerys Targaryen, who was just a baby, However, the Dragonstone men, even though Viserys had been crowned there, were prepared to let him, like, they're gonna hand him over because they're not trying to die. However, the free cities came in and managed to smuggle the two away. So after this, Ned Stark decided, screw this, I'm gonna go south and retrieve my sister. And he did find her after killing Arthur Dayne and all that. He found her, but he found his sister dying on a bed with a baby, a son. And Ned brought word to King's Landing back that the war was pretty much over. Lyanna was dead, and he returned to Riverrun to take his wife Catelyn back to Winterfell as home. While Catelyn presented Ned with his son and heir, Ned's son, Robb Stark, Ned presented her with a bastard, in reality who was Lyanna Stark's and Rhaegar Targaryen's son. The mother of Ned's bastard was speculated to be the fisherman's daughter, who I mentioned earlier, and Lady Ashara Dayne, who danced with Ned at Harrenhal. But you might be wondering, what was the name of this bastard? The name of this bastard was a certain man by the name of Jon Snow. If you guys want to see what happens to Jon Snow in his journey, please like, share, and subscribe.